it's going to be Sugar Sean's best performance. It has to be. This needs to be the Sugar Show for Sean. This is the time where he needs to step up, because he's not going in there fighting, a Peter Yan. He's going in there fighting Aljamain Sterling, who took out Peter Yan, who took out TJ, who dominated a 5-round fight against Henry Cejudo, against considerably one of the greatest of all time in the sport. That's who Sugar Sean is fighting. Hey guys, welcome to the False Nine Podcast here with episode 154. Let's go, baby. Episode 154. We got UFC 292 this weekend. Very exciting fight card. I'm a little disappointed from the other fights. There's most of them are pretty good. I just really thought there was going to be like more hype names, but it's more names, people coming up and other UFC fighters that we're not so familiar with, like Aljamain and Sugar Sean O'Malley. So let's start off. That's all we're going to talk about is UFC 292. We're going to give our thoughts, our predictions. I want to start off by Geoff Neal versus Garry, welterweights. It's going to be a good fight. I'm familiar with Garry and a little bit of Neal. I think it's going to be a scrap. They're going to fight, scrap it out. I'm not sure who I got. I don't want to disrespect nobody. I don't really know him like that, so I don't want to pick. We got Marlon Vera versus Pedro Munhoz. That fight's going to be good. It's a statement fight for Cheeto Vera. He lost to Cody Sandhagen, somebody who has a big name and seems to work his way towards a title shot. And he lost to Cody, and he looked sloppy. He looked bad. He got outclassed, So this is a fight for him where you get to see if Cheeto is in it like that, or if he's capable to be in the conversation for a title shot, And, Pedro Munhoz, we know that he's not a veteran, but he's been in the UFC for a long time. And, he's fought in everybody. I'm not sure if he fought, let me see. I want to know. I'm pretty sure he fought either. I want to say he either fought Aljamain or, he fought Aljamain. Aljamain beat him. And who else did he fight? Did he fight Sugar or not? All right, did not fight Sugar Sean. But yeah, Aljamain beat him. Aljamain beat Cody Sandhagen and what's his name? Cody Sandhagen and Pedro Munhoz, my bad. But yeah, Cheeto Vera is trying to make a name for himself. And we're going to see if he can do it, if he can beat someone like Pedro Munhoz, which he's really good, man. He's a beast. So we'll see. The next fight that we're going to talk about here is Brad Tavares versus Chris Weidman. For you guys don't know, Chris Weidman, I believe he fractured his leg, or it broke in half. His shin just split, and then he stepped on it. It was a very, very nasty situation, and he's coming back from that. He's going to try and rebound, and try and see if he has anything left in the tank. It's a very exciting fight for Weidman because we all know him. He's been in the UFC for a long time. He knocked out Anderson Silva. It's crazy. And we all know about the curse, right? About the UFC leg curse, right? That supposedly Anderson Silva broke his leg against Chris Weidman, and then Chris Weidman broke his leg against this guy. And I want to say that guy that Chris Weidman broke his leg to, he broke his leg. So I don't know, but it's a curse that supposedly people are talking about on the internet. So hopefully nothing happens though to Chris Weidman. I think he has a really good opponent, Brad Tavares. I was watching a little bit of his stuff earlier, and he looks good. He looks like the real deal, and that fight's going to be a war. Both of those guys, they're going to want to make a statement in that fight. Chris Weidman wants to show that he's capable of bouncing back, and he's a title contender. And then this other guy named Brad, he wants to make a name for himself. And he's fought Duplessis, he's fought Izzy, he's fought Whitaker. He has that experience now. He didn't win those fights, but he's trying to bounce back. And I think just with that experience, he can handle a tough fight. And he's going to be able to scrap. And that's what he's going to do against Chris Weidman. So either way, the fight's hella exciting. And it's super exciting to see. And hopefully, we just get a good-ass show. to be honest with you. So let's talk about Zhang Weili versus Amanda Lemos. And with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about the UFC, the women's side of the UFC, right? We had Amanda Nunes retire, and before that, I want to say it was like Ronda Rousey who was kind of carrying the whole or just the women's division in general, right? So Amanda Nunes is considered the GOAT in the women's division. Now she's walked away, and what's crazy is that there's no other dominant person in the women's division right now. If I'm not mistaken, it's Alexa Grasso as champion, and what's her name? And Zhang Weili or Weili, she's the current champion. And then the other division, which was the Amanda Nunes division, she had two divisions. I don't even know what the two were, but she was double champ, right? So who's gonna be the next, top dog, and then the women's division? And the reason why I'm talking about this is because this fight with Weili and Lemos, like, both of them are crazy good. Like, especially Weili, she was already been UFC champion, and then she lost it, and she got it back. I mean, it was just impressive for her to bounce back and to be champion again. It's like, I bet that has to feel good, and it gives you so much more confidence already. So then now you have Lemos, who's, I mean, she's a fucking, she's crazy, bro. Like, I was watching her stuff too, and I mean, she's so good. Like, overall striking, especially her jiu-jitsu's on a whole nother level. And it's just a good matchup because you got someone who's really good, just standing up, Muay Thai, and that different style of fighting versus somebody like a Brazilian. You got like a real Asian fighter versus a Brazilian style fighter, like Muay Thai versus BJJ, and that's exciting. You want to see like the best styles that they bring and that they're going to represent for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or Muay Thai, right? And it's going to be like those styles at the best level are going to meet, and they're just going to fucking go at it each other. And we're going to see which one comes out on top. I got Weili coming out on top. I just think she is bigger. I think she's stronger, and being big and strong, I think is going to help her on the ground. And I think she has that knockout power, and I think she can eat a punch. I don't think Lemos' punches are going to really, like, put out Weili. I think they're going to do some damage, but I don't know if they're going to be able to put her out. Now, if Lemos comes with the win, I'm not going to be surprised because she's, like I said, she's explosive, she's quick, she's fast. Like, she's a beast, so I wouldn't be surprised. But I got Weili. My money's on her. I think she gets if she gets a finish, it'll be in the late rounds, like 4, 5. But I think it goes to a decision, honestly, and that's how she gets the win. I think she's just going to dominate all 5 rounds. So now you got the main event, right? We got Sugar Sean versus Aljamain Sterling, man. This fight is exciting, and I want to talk about both the fighters, just how they came up and how they're in this position, right? And I want to talk about Sugar Sean first. Sugar Sean has, since he got in the UFC, he's been like a star. He's been someone like, Sean O'Malley, especially when Snoop Dogg posted him, Sean O'Malley, this and that, right? And Sugar Sean, he called it the Sugar Show. He made a name for himself. He branded himself so well, and he looks unique. He doesn't look like every other fighter. He's tall, long, colorful hair, tattoos. He looks different. He looks like he's so marketable. He looks like he's just marketable. And he's been having a name for a long time now, especially coming out of the contender series, and then just the way he's been knocking people out, just with that left hand, is crazy. He's a crazy boxer. And I've heard Sean O'Malley on podcasts and how he came up, and it's really interesting because he's someone who before, clearly he was like not a dork, but he was kind of a dork. If you look at his pictures, he looks dorky. And he was just someone who enjoyed fighting, you know. And he's also someone who said that he wasn't like a fan of the UFC. That, you know, his dad would watch UFC. He'd be like snitching on his dad for watching UFC to his mom, you know. And he's someone that just grew up and started to like it. And then he was actually pretty decent at it. And then that's when he met his gym partner or his trainer. I forgot his name. But, you know, he does that and then he just commits to the sport, you know, and while doing it, he has like this swag to him, you know, Sugar Sean, Sugar Show, whatever you may call it. And, you know, he smokes pot and he just seems like a super chill, cool dude, while at the same time being a bad motherfucker, like at the UFC, you know, knocking people out and putting on a show, you know, every time with style, finesse. Like I don't know. I haven't seen something like Sugar Sean since Connor. Like his come up, the way he's built, you know, the swag. It's just so different and so unique, and it's exciting. It's exciting to see him at, you know, getting a title shot. And I'll get to the predictions later, you know. And his last few fights, I'm not sure who the guy's name was who he fought last, but you know, took him out. Was it? Yeah, never mind. It was the guy before Peter Yan. You know, made him look like chump, you know, and then the guy with the green hair. And I forgot who else was before that, but he had that loss to Cheeto Vera, which, you know, I was watching that fight during COVID, and I mean, he didn't lose that fight. He rolled his ankle and he was just donezo, you know. And it's really rare for Sugar Sean to, I think, that he messed up his ankle, because I think he takes good care of himself. But he said that he got hit in the spot and it was just kind of weird. So, you know, and we never seen him or Cheeto want that fight again. And I don't think Cheeto ever wants to fight Sean unless it's for a title shot or for the title shot or for the title itself. You know, I don't think Cheeto ever wanted that smoke, and I think he got lucky and dodged the bullet there with the Sugar Sean. And I really hope that Sugar Sean fights him eventually, you know, whether it's after this fight or whatever it's next. You know, and then he has a fight with Peter Yan, which arguably he kind of lost the fight. Arguably, I don't know. I've watched the fight, and, you know, if I had to pick again, I would say Peter Yan won that fight. But again, it was a very close fight regardless, right? And it was a good fight. And we got to see how good Sugar Sean's striking is, you know, to do what he did to Peter Yan and the damage that put on him. I mean, it was like, I've never seen Peter Yan that much, that taking damage to the face, you know. I seen him get handled against Aljamain and, you know, whatever. So for Sugar Sean to do that to Peter Yan, it's like, oh shit, like he's the real deal. But also in that fight, we saw Sugar Sean get caught for the first time like that. We saw him get taken down, like, you know, not ragdolled, but pretty close. He stuffed some takedowns, a lot of takedowns actually, which when I watched the fight again, I was really impressed how many takedowns that he stuffed. And I was like, oh, snap, you know, like, that was pretty good, you know, and hopefully he can do that against Aljamain. So he wins that fight. People thought that Peter Yan won that fight. It's kind of, you know, hard. And when you're such a big name in the sport, you know, like, you have so much leverage. And I know that people hate to say that or hear that, but it's true, you know. When you're a big name and when your name has a lot of attention and pull or gravity, like, you're gonna have so much more favor in the judges and everything else. You know, it's just how it is. And so now he's fighting Aljamain Sterling, someone who, I mean, he was unlikable. He's still probably very unlikable, but I've came to accept that, you know, Aljamain Sterling is the fucking guy. And I like guys who, I'm a fan of guys who, you know, they talk, or they do this or whatever, but they back their shit up. And Aljamain Sterling has done nothing but back his shit up, you know, being real. So yeah, Sugar Sean fights Aljamain Sterling. It's going to be the toughest fight. And like I said, I'll get to the fight itself in a second, but I just want to talk about Sugar Sean for a little bit, because his come up and the way he's came up in the UFC, you know, and he is a Dana White favorite, gets Dana White privilege. And so far, Sugar Sean has lived up to the expectation. And in this fight, we're going to see if his stock tanks or if his stock goes to the fucking roof, you know, because if he wins, Jesus Christ, you know. And we'll, like I said, we'll get to it in a second. Now let's talk about Aljamain Sterling. I did want to pull up his record because, man, it's as much as I didn't like the guy, he's fucking impressive. So, let's see. I want to mention some honorable names, right? So he lost to a Marlon Morales. Is that the one where he got KO'd or nah? No, I don't think so. Anyways, so he fights Pedro Munhoz, beats Pedro, and then he fights is that Corey Sandhagen or Cody? I've probably been messing up his name the whole time. So he fought Corey, beats Corey, then fights Peter Yan, and this is the incident where he gets knee to the face pretty rough, and then Peter Yan loses the belt. And then Aljamain Sterling gets the belt. He's crying. He said that he didn't want to win the belt like that. He was very emotional, and we all, like, everybody felt like bad for Aljamain. He was like, yeah, man, like, that fucking sucks, whatever. And then you start to see Aljamain Sterling flex in the UFC belt, and, like, we're like, bro, like, you were just crying and said you didn't want to win like this, and now you flexing this belt, this and that, and he started getting hate out the booty, right? And I was even like, bro, what are you doing? Like, how are you going to be so sad and cry on TV, on the UFC, that you lost, and you're making, like, this big scene, and you're on the ground like, oh, my head, like, and really selling it to the people, and we all felt bad for you, and then you go and just flex the belt, and we're like, what the fuck? Like, bro, how you gonna, like, you basically said, I'm the champion now, ha ha ha. And, like, I just threw a fit, or you just made a huge scene for nothing. So we're all like, nah, bro, like, that shit ain't cool, blah, blah. And it was crazy. I didn't like Aljo. I was like, bro, what the fuck, But then he goes and fucking dominates Peter Yan, 5 rounds. And, it was impressive. It was impressive. And, you couldn't make an excuse. And that's probably been his toughest fight. No, that was his second toughest, because his toughest was definitely Henry. But then he goes, fights TJ Dillashaw, which we all wanted TJ to come back and fucking get the belt back. We all wanted it. That's all we wanted to see. I wanted to see that shit. And because I was like, man, fuck Aljamain. Like, he don't deserve to win. Like, he don't deserve to be champion. He doesn't. He won the belt, like, in a fraudulent way, getting the belt because the other guy got, the disqualification. The belt should have been vacant, and then you cry about it. And then you fucking, then you flex the belt. Like, and then TJ's in there like, bet, like, TJ's going to get the job done. He's a beast. He's going to come back stronger, whatever. Motherfucker comes back, injured shoulder. His shoulder's gone. He goes into that fight, gets ragdolled, loses. And it was just like, man, like, that sucks. And everybody was booing. And I remember just thinking, like, Aljamain, you so lucky, bro. You so lucky, And then he fights Henry Cejudo, and Henry Cejudo was going to be our saving grace, man. Henry Cejudo was going to get the belt back and just save the day. That's what we all thought. That's what I wanted. I never been a fan of Henry, but this fight, I kind of liked Henry. I was like, Henry needs to get the belt back type shit, right? And, there was a lot of hype for it, and Henry is not a loser. He's not someone who really loses fights, especially champion fights. We know him as a double champ, Olympic gold medalist. He bragged about it. But that's how we see Henry Cejudo. And then for Aljamain to come in there to take down the Olympic gold medalist, double champ, the way he did, to basically out-fight him in every aspect of fighting, in the ground, striking, grappling, everywhere. And just wins another decision. A tough fight again. Another tough fight. To fight Peter Yan, TJ doesn't really count. And then Henry, like, just those two guys itself, it's insane. It's fucking insane, and it's impressive. And after the Henry fight, I was just like, man, this motherfucker don't lose. Aljamain don't lose. And he's on a 9-win fight streak, which is super impressive as well. But, Aljo does that to Henry, and he was ready to call out Sugar Show. And I really thought they were going to run it back, but Henry wasn't really sure. And I know they want to push Sugar Show or Sugar Sean to be champion. And literally weeks later, they're talking about making the fight already. And it's really unfair to Aljamain Sterling because, they're not giving him any time, to recover. He's been real active, give him props for that. He cuts a lot of weight. So it seems like they want to get a drained Aljamain Sterling. And the way Aljamain Sterling has been handling it's so impressive. Him just like, fuck it. Like, Dana White's trying to, help you out, and they don't want me to be UFC champion. And this is and that. And Dana White gave him a Lambo, no hate towards him, and very understandable. Dana White, he's just a business guy. And I understand it. I would push Sugar Sean myself too. If he could be champion and get me more views and sales, like, bro, that's what you got to do. Now, I think hopefully a storyline is created for Sugar Sean and Aljamain Sterling. I hope there's a rivalry there. I hope they put on a classic. And, hopefully it won't be the only fight we see from them. Now, let's talk about the fight itself, right? On Saturday, I want to say the 19th, we're going to see Aljamain Sterling versus Sugar Sean, the Sugar Show. And it's going to be Sugar Sean's best performance. It has to be. He's fighting for the title. He's been talking about being champion for the longest. I've been following him for the longest. And everyone who's been following him knows that his goal has always been to be the UFC champion. And we've always seen him perform and do real good. And now, this is the Sugar Show. This needs to be the Sugar Show for Sean. This is the time where he needs to step up. And hopefully, his training camp and his diet and his training, like, it's been great. Hopefully it's been off the charts. Because he's not going in there fighting, a Peter Yan, a Corey Sandhagen, a Cheeto Vera. He's going in there fighting Aljamain Sterling, who took out Peter Yan, who took out TJ, who dominated a 5-round fight against Henry Cejudo, against considerably one of the greatest of all time in the sport. That's who Sugar Sean is fighting. All kudos to Sugar Sean, but the real talent or the real danger he ever faced was Peter Yan. And not taking anything from Peter Yan, but Sugar Sean didn't look all the way ready. It was a big wake up and a big test for him, but I don't think he was ready for that. Now, I don't know if he's ready for this fight. I'm scared for Sugar Sean. I'm worried about it. I don't think he's gonna be able to get the job done. That's how I feel. I think Aljamain's gonna come up with the win. But I'm like, Sugar Sean, like, if I want to see him be champion, I really want to see it. But Aljamain Sterling ain't no joke. He's fucking good. He's great everywhere. He's called the Funk Master because he fights weird, awkward. The weird thing is that Sugar Sean fights the same way. So that matchup, standing up is going to be nice. But, what is Sugar Sean, what does he got to do? Like, again, fighting someone like Aljo, how do you beat him? And Sugar Sean said himself, he's fighting arguably one of the best bantamweights in the world and ever, and he cannot get taken down. Sugar Sean, if he wants to win this fight, he needs to keep it away from the ground as much as possible. And I'm pretty sure Sugar has been working on his ground game like crazy, and I hope he's strong and healthy for it. But we'll see. Now, Aljamain Sterling, like I said, I think he's going to win the fight. I think he's going to do what he did to Henry, what he did to TJ, and what he did to Peter Yan. Just take you to the ground, beat you up, stand up, scrap with you a little bit, then take you down. Like, he's just going to give you a hard time. He reminds me of someone like Kobe Covington, right? Just aggressive, will scrap with you and then take you to the ground. Not like Kobe, more like Usman, honestly. Just so fucking good. All aspects, right? And like I said, Aljamain's one of the best. Took out Corey, Peter Yan, Henry Cejudo, TJ Dillashaw, and now Sugar Sean. If he gets the win against Sugar Sean, like, there's no argument that he's one of the best bantamweights to ever exist, in the UFC. And as much as we hated him, it doesn't matter if he wins or lose this fight. Like, he's going to go down as one of the best. Like I said, whether we hate him or not, the way he became champion was super weird and super crazy. But the dude's backed it up. He's beating people up, So that's Aljamain Sterling for you. It's super weird and a very unique story in the UFC. And at first I wasn't a fan, but I mean, I'm a fan now. Like, I'm a fan of somebody who's a badass, and that's what he is, you know. And now getting towards the end of this fight, like I said, Aljamain Sterling's going to win the fight. I think it goes to distance, or he submits Sugar Sean like in the 4th or the 5th, because Sugar Sean might get tired. Now, if Aljamain Sterling wins this fight, which I think he will, I think he's going to move up to 145. And guys, we all know who needs opponents at 145. You know, imagine the fight with him and Volk. Aljamain Sterling versus Volkanovski, right? Volkanovski's so good on the ground. Look how he controlled Islam. Aljamain Sterling so good on the ground. You know, where does he stand, you know, on his ground game? And how can someone like Volkanovski handle that? And then someone like Aljo, you know, can he handle Volkanovski? Because I don't think Aljo has fought anybody like Volk besides Peter Yan. And that was impressive. But, you know, someone a little bit heavier, someone a little bit smarter, someone just a little bit better. And that's Volkanovski. You know, I don't want to talk about predictions, but that fight would be an amazing fight to make if Aljo gets the win and then he moves up. Like, why not? Or him against Max Holloway would be a fucking dope-ass fight too. So, I don't know, man. Aljamain Sterling has a bright future. He's going to be a star. He's probably going to go down as one of the best and then get inducted into the Hall of Fame. You know, as far for Sugar, I don't think it's his time now. You know, I think Aljamain's going to go get the dub, and Sugar Sean's going to have to fight someone else, or you know, or the next fight that he does is going to be for the title shot. You know, but if he loses, I think he has to fight someone else and then get the title shot. But we'll see. Like I said, I don't think it's Sugar's time yet. I think he knows it. Aljamain gets the job done, and that's a wrap. So I hope you guys enjoyed UFC 292 as much as I will. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know who you guys have for the weekend and why. And let me know just anything else, guys.